Welcome back to the Marriage Communication Workshop. Today we are starting into part two, session 6 of improving communication in our marriage. Now, in part 1, we kind of dove deeply into the heart issues that can become barriers to effective communication. We looked at ways to own our part in our relationship and in our marital issues that kind of come to a head and create conflict with our communication. We looked at how to really accept our husband for who he is right now and set our expectations on God. We looked at really understanding better the effect of allowing negative thoughts to take up space in our mind. Then we looked at how to change that, how to bring in a bulldozer and just tear apart that negative thought superhighway in our brain. We ended the week looking at how to begin to fight for our marriage instead of fighting in our marriage, fighting with our husband, how to see who the real enemy is and take a break from all of the words that are speaking death in our life, and to take those issues that we're struggling to accept that are coming up over and over again as bickering and just craziness, and to take them to God in prayer, to create a strategy to do that effectively, powerful prayer by pulling the scripture that talks about it and holding God to the promises in his word. So I'd love to know how that's going for you. I've had already some emails from you about it being such a struggle, and can I say that I completely relate. Like, it doesn't matter how much I want to just shut up about something and pray about it. There is this reality that my mouth kind of has a mind of its own, right? So whatever your thought was, you're just gonna, just clamp it down and be quiet and not talk about it, listen, and not, vent back out the frustration of all the things, right? It's just hard. And it is not just you, it is all of us. There are so many scriptures about controlling our tongue, about bridling our tongue, about our tongue being like this crazy independent operator that is kind of destroying our best intentions, right? Our intentions are to fight for our marriage, to make a change, to have things, begin to improve by prayer. But then here's our mouth, and it is just spitting out the first thing that, it's used to reacting, right? He comes home and says this, and it stirs up all of these emotions. And so my first gut reaction is to spew out words to defend myself, to put him in his place, to correct him. And so today, as we jump into session 6, one of the first tools that we are going to put into our communication tool belt is a change, just to pivot from reacting out of the frustration and the tension and all of the overflow of emotion. So we want to take that off, that I like to react, and I don't like to react. I don't know why those words just come out automatically, like they're just, they're stored up. Before I even had a chance to think about it, I have spat out some words that shut my husband down, right? We're going to pivot from that, okay, and learn how to make that pivot from reacting badly to responding lovingly, wisely, in a way that honors God, as we are wanting to really be different, to have a different pattern in our marriage. And here's the thing, okay? So I already feel that pushback in my heart, even as I say it, even after years of practicing it, okay? Of, oh, I have to change. One more change for me. Great. Why do I always have to be the one who is doing this hard work and changing? Like, my husband over here, he has a part too. Like, he should be leading us spiritually. He should be like driving the charge to make all these changes in our marriage. And so what I repeat to myself over and over again, and what I'm going to repeat to you over and over again, is what we talked about at the beginning of last week, right? Yes, our husband has a part, and he should also be changing and working hard to be better at this marriage. But I have absolutely no control over him. That is between him and God. And so what do, right? I want things to change and get better, but I am only responsible for me. So that means that if God has brought this to my attention, probably he's brought it to my husband's attention too, honestly. Let's just be real. But if he brought it to me, then I have to be obedient and surrendered to him, whether my husband is making these same changes or not. And it's hard, and it feels just like, oh, one more thing, and why me? But we have to release that to God. We have to submit fully surrendered to God about the things that he shows us to do in our marriage. We have to give it to him and say, it's hard and it seems unfair. Just a whole lot of that. That's my mentality all the time. Like, it's not fair. I don't want to be the one to have to do all this hard work. But if you say, that's what you want me to do, God, then I want the things that you want for me. I want to be obedient. Help me to want it enough that I'm going to take that first step toward obedience. And so what do I mean by that? Obedience. Obedience about our words, obedience about changing this pattern from reacting out of the overflow of emotion to responding with a calm, cool head in wisdom. Okay, so it comes from Ephesians 4:29 in one place. I'm just going to say there are so many verses that talk about our words. But in this session, I'm encouraging you to find verses about marriage, verses about communication, about our words, about how to really get our mouth to get in step with our brain and our heart while we're making these changes. So years ago, in the book of Ephesians, chapter 4:29, this was one of the first verses that I found that God made me feel very serious about. We're going to do this thing. And this is before I could make anything pretty or frilly, and I hadn't found it online to have it downloadable. So I would write these verses on an index card. I still do. That's always my first thing. Write it on an index card and tape it up wherever I am, okay, wherever my safe place is. And we talked about that today, and we'll hit it in a minute. But my safe place at the moment is the bathroom. I will get away to the bathroom. So I will write this verse down and tape it up in my bathroom where I'm going to see it often. And I love Bible Gateway because I can switch up the translations to understand it better, to help me not memorize it, right? Because, I mean, look, it's been up in my bathroom for a long time. It is not memorized. That's why it's still up in my bathroom, because I need to be reminded of what it says. So this is it in the Amplified Version, and it says, "Let no foul or polluting language or evil word or unwholesome or worthless talk ever come out of your mouth, but only such speech as is good and helpful to the spiritual progress of others, as is fitting the need and the occasion, so that it may be a blessing and give grace or God's favor to those who hear it." Now, my first reaction when something comes in that is, stirring up emotion, my first reaction, those words, they're not going to line up with Scripture. They're not. I am going to want to say something to hurt him back. I am. I'm going to want to, tell him he's being an insensitive jerk, and that hurts me, and he said it so many times, and would he please grow up and quit acting like that? I'm going to want to say those kind of things. And that is even after years of trying to, switch off that negative response, right? Because his words hit some places of like deep insecurity in me. I give you an example today in the lesson of him coming in and criticizing my ability to cook spaghetti. I have zero domestic skills, right? And cooking is just one of those things. I don't do it well. He knows that. He also knows that it bothers me. I want to do better. Have tried so much to learn how to cook spaghetti. He could eat spaghetti every day and be happy, but I can't cook spaghetti. It's either going to be burnt, it's going to be undercooked, it's not good. And so he'll come home and you can tell, right, that I'm cooking spaghetti, and he will speak to that in a way. So he is speaking into my insecurity. And so it rises to the top, those emotions. And so as we're shifting and pivoting from reacting badly, reacting in a way that even though you were right to begin with, right? In the beginning of this situation, I'm right. I am cooking dinner. I am doing my part. I'm doing it with a good attitude. More than likely, I have some praise music. I'm just like jamming out, worshiping the Lord, trying my hardest to cook a good dinner. And he comes in the wrong. Okay, he is wrong to speak to me that way. Let's be clear. We are not giving him a free pass and saying it's okay for him to come in and talk down to me. It's not. But if I react out of my emotion, we're both going to be wrong. Okay, he came in a bad place. He spoke into my insecurity and I reacted. And here's the thing that always gets me, right, in my flawed human self. I reacted, like, transition quickly from worshiping the Lord, jamming with some Hillsong, to like chewing my husband out. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. It has that potential. It has been in the past so much. But I don't want to be wrong, right? I don't want to take the bait to jump into like tension and uneasiness and a fight that didn't need to happen. Okay, I know I can't cook. It's okay. He knows I can't cook, but I can't make him change in that way. And my negative words, they're not going to make him change either. They're going to shut him down or make him dig his heels in and push the topic that I can't cook, which is going to hurt me more. And we're just in this cycle, right? This crazy, mixed up, crazy communication cycle. And listen, I'm going to pause and say, like, I get that this is a little issue. And I know that in this group, we have some women and we're dealing with some bigger things, some difficult issues in our marriage that go well beyond criticizing our cooking skills. But let's start here. We're going to get to those harder things at the end of the week, all right? As we start with the smaller things and practice them, the more difficult conversations will come more naturally, okay? So just bear with me in this process, all right? So what I want to do in that moment is break the cycle, right? I want to help my mouth get out of the habit of reacting badly, to help that, that muscle memory, right? My mouth is connected to that brain, and that superhighway, no matter how many times I try to destroy it, it's still kind of there. There's still those rivets there. So as my husband comes in and kind of hits at me about the spaghetti, my brain is like going here, like, oh, he doesn't love me. Oh, I'm such a bad wife. I don't have this ability. He's right. Other people should be able to cook spaghetti. Why can't I cook spaghetti? Like, I'm such a horrible, and all of that negative, right? And it hits at my insecurities and my mouth just starts to spout out some things. So the first piece is I have to realize, recognize, and own the fact that I do not need to say every word that comes to mind, right? Instead of reacting, I want to respond well, but I need a minute. I need a safe place to get away with the Lord, just to chill, just to calm the emotions, to, vent those words. They need to be said sometimes, right? They're just like hard, and it's been day after day, and the kids have been crazy, and life is just hard, and the burdens and all of these things. And here are all these very real emotions in me, right? We talked about that we are accepting our husband for who he is in this season, and we are then taking those needs and those expectations off of him for this season and giving them to God. And part of that means that I'm going to take those very real needs in that moment, that very real need to defend myself, to feel loved and validated, to God. So I need a safe place. Right now in this season, that safe place is my bathroom. And so these verses are hung up there. It's the only room in the house with a lock that still works. So I will go in and lock the door and just like vent it to God. Now, our house is small and my family knows that I do this now, right? So they are kind of like stepping back. They see mom's upset. Mom's trying to calm down, whatever. It helps a little bit with the kids, not my husband so much. He's all like, what's she saying? What is she really, But the point is, I'm going to vent those things to God. In that process, I'm letting God filter my words, right? If I get it off my chest with God, I don't need to get it off my chest so emotionally with my husband. And we are going to come back to it later. We're going to talk about this later when everybody's calmed down, everything has chilled out, and we're in a good place to talk about it. He's not off the hook, right? He is going to have to say he's sorry. But I'm going to give that to God and ask God to soften his heart, to point it out to him without needing me, because I'm going to make it worse. I'm going to ask God to help my words line up with his word. And a lot of times I will use a tactic that we use with kids, right? Okay, so I talk a lot about kind of this mothering thing and how we can take some of the strategies we use with our kids and use them in our marriage. Not that I'm saying my husband's a kid. Okay, I love my husband. He's a good man. But they work. They work outside of marriage, outside of parenting. Okay, so what do you do when you have a 5-year-old in full meltdown, just going crazy, right? You are not going to rationalize with her, use logic. You're not going to try to convince her she's wrong and she needs to grow up and have, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to distract her. We're going to divert attention from whatever the tantrum's about, right? She wanted a cookie and it's 5 minutes before dinner and I said no. She is on the floor flailing, going crazy because I said no about this cookie, right? She's wrong. She needs a really good dose of reality, right? She's just a kid. So we're going to use some other skills, right? We're going to ask her to help make dinner. We're going to, maybe sit down for a second and color with her, offer her a video. We're going to do something to distract her from this thing, to give her a minute to calm down her emotions and come back to reality and be with us. So what I learned some years ago through counseling is that the same tactic will help diffuse the tension within our home. As my husband comes in, maybe from a bad day, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he didn't intentionally come in to criticize my cooking. He probably didn't. He really loves me and knows that he married me knowing I couldn't cook spaghetti, y'all. I'm just going to say, like, he loved me that much that it didn't matter that I could not cook his favorite dinner. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's coming in a bad mood for whatever reason. Maybe it hit all of my emotions. I'm taking myself too seriously, whatever it is. As I come out of my safe place with God, I'm praying God will give me the words to just divert from this argument, to just set it aside. I'm not even going to engage with him about it in this moment. Instead, I'm going to say something else, do something else, ask him about his day, distract him from whatever the bad mood was. Sometimes I'm going to throw in some playfulness, and we'll touch on that tomorrow, and just lighten the mood, okay? He may have given me some bait. I do not have to rise to the bait and have a fight in our marriage. You don't have to take the bait. You just leave it sit there. Shoo it away. It's not important in the moment, right? He may want to pick a fight. He may be that kind of husband. You don't have to give him the satisfaction of letting him see that he just pushed your buttons, right? So I say this with my kids all the time because my husband's a button pusher. And I say, like, you see him trying to push your buttons, move the button. Move the button. Don't allow him to rob you of your joy, to steal your peace in this moment. If you've done nothing wrong, like this is coming out of nowhere, he's acting a little loopy, whatever, or you're being a little more sensitive than you should be, just move the button. Don't take the bait. Give it to God and say, God, he has pushed my button and here it is. Will you please take this button and help me, like, put a guard over my mouth? Right? Filter my words. Take this and defend me, because if I try to defend myself, it's going to end badly. All right, so you have some exercises in the workbook today. I want you to work through and think about how you can set a guard over your mouth, how you can vent those things to God and let him filter the words that need to be said, okay? So take the time to do that. If you have found this and have not registered for this free marriage communication workshop, there's a link down in the description. Be sure to jump into it. You're going to get a workbook to apply all of these tools and exercises. Today in the email, you're going to get some verse cards that you can print out. with verses that will help you kind of control your mouth as you're, breaking the cycle in this agreement. And then you're going to get a session and a video every day for the 10 days of the workshop to really apply some things and see God begin to move and change things in your marriage. Listen, I'm praying for you as you apply this and work through it, and I cannot wait to see you again tomorrow. You all have a blessed day.